All of us, what we call the peoples, knew what was going on with the BBC.
As bad as we now know it was?
Yeah, we knew. We all knew. We knew that you go to Top of the Pops, what you were facing. It was common knowledge, but it wasn't common knowledge in the media.
I heard the rumours, but I was working in an environment that was totally male. Do you really think that if I had said to somebody at the BBC higher up than me, this is going on, nobody took any note? They wouldn't have taken any notice whatsoever.
8-year-old girls love Jimmy Savile, though, don't they? And of course... Anyway, I won't go on.
Yeah. Yeah, he loves her slot. That's what I'm saying.
3 life sentences. A spokesman said, "You think you know a guy," and then he goes and does something like that.
Journalists and filmmakers probed. They kind of already knew the truth. When challenged, he put up a shield and denied the rumours time and time again.
And a gentleman never grasses on ladies as ever.
But we're not asking for names, we're just asking for the general principle.
Oh, so I mean...
We just want to know if you live this sort of playboy life of the DJ.
Yeah, give or take a few nice ladies. But I mean, you know, a gentleman doesn't ever speak of ladies. I don't know where you come from. I mean, I don't know what your circles are, but my circles, ladies are very... You don't grass on them.
The Sunday Mirror and other papers heard stories about Savile over the years. Victims reported their stories, but editors always chose not to run the stories. Savile was quick to threaten legal action, was adept at playing the media. From your experience working in the press, do you have any knowledge of media investigations into Savile, or knowledge of similar cases where the press had to sit on a story for fear of being sued?
Well, we were often scared of being sued. You know, I did some quite investigative stuff when I worked on the independent newspaper. And, you know, the lawyers, they didn't have a final say. The editors have the final say. But you know, if the lawyers strongly counsel against doing something, you have to accept that. With Jimmy Savile, I mean, yes, he was litigious. And so it's difficult to then actually go right up against him. He was very famous. He was, you know, quite powerful. So I do, Shaun, I partly understand this, but actually I still wonder about it. You know, that, because I did, even on the Independent when I was there in the 90s, there was stuff coming up about Jimmy Savile, and people would kind of occasionally mention it. So clearly they heard rumors about these stories, and you have to devote quite a lot of resources to it. I mean, you have to, for example, I mean, look at the Boston story of the priest that was then the film, you know, and you then look at that film and you see that it took them, you know, a long time to nail that priest, you know, literally years. Literally, they had to wait till they found a really good witness and so on. So some of it is just lack of resources. But even then, I do wonder just why nobody quite had the guts to do it. And I suppose, you know, did they, you know, were they prevented from doing so somehow? Okay, let's imagine what would, you know, the front page story would be very, very big. You know, Jimmy Savile in sex scandal, you know, witnesses, blah, blah, blah. You know, it would have been a really, really big story. You know, bigger probably than any other sex scandal story we've had. He was a really powerful character. On the TV every week or several times a week, and you know, it would have taken a lot of guts to do it.
If I arrive at the gates of heaven and St. Peter says, "You've been a very tricky man, you can't come in here," I'll break his thumbs, because I'm qualified to do that, because I earned a living being a wrestler. breaks it. And I've never had a problem yet with anybody whose thumbs I've broke.
You talk about that, though, as if there's reasons for you going downstairs. Do you have a conscience about that? Is there stuff you've done that you think will deny you access to the big man?
No.
Jimmy Savile died in October 2011. He was seen as a national treasure, a British eccentric with decades of fame. He was viewed as a hero for the millions he raised for charity. A friend of royalty and senior politicians, Savile was knighted by the Queen and the Pope. So Savile was a friend of Margaret Thatcher. When Charles and Di had marital problems, he was brought in as a marriage guidance counsellor by the royal family. How does a guy from the north, very humble roots, disc jockey, rise to such associations?
It's personality, Shaun. He did have I mean, as I said, I don't think he was particularly funny, but he had a certain wit about him. I don't think one could say charm, really. He wasn't very charming.
Like psychopaths are described as charming.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah. I suppose maybe he made people laugh a bit with his stupid laugh himself and his kind of whole, all that kind of stuff. And I didn't know that, actually, that he was actually asked as a marriage counsellor. You can't, you can't imagine anybody worse, really.
Princess Diana wrote that he was creepy. She found him very creepy.
Good for her, yes. I'm not surprising. She got it, for once, as usual, Princess Diana got it better than Charles or his mother. I think you have to understand that actors, people in the entertainment industry jump a class or two, don't they? I mean, they might come from humble roots, but they actually jump out. You only have to look at the Beatles, who are kind of like royalty now, or Cilla Black, one of our great singers, who became just a household name, and she was on all sorts of TV programs, dating programs, and as well as being a singer. That people in the entertainment industry are kind of déclassé in a way. They jump at, we have this entrenched class system in the UK that generally people can't escape from. But the one escape, and I think this is true in America as well, that real stars kind of get out of their class, and so they then become part of the red carpet elite. And that's maybe why the royal family were being dumb enough to work out the marital problems of somebody who should never have married that young woman anyway. And that's another whole story. But it wasn't an issue that could be solved by counselling. It was an issue that should never have taken place for the first time, because he was, as we know, consorting with somebody else all the way through. But that's that. So I suppose it was like a bit of kind of pulling Savile out as a bit of a figurehead, wasn't it? It was a kind of, somebody who was kind of very famous. Oh, we're showing we're doing something about this.
So I can understand the red carpet effect and Savile mesmerising the masses, being on the TV all the time. To waltz into Buckingham Palace, whereby there's a royal protection police force who would investigate, your background, and they would have probably been aware of the accusations against him. Why would they allow the top royals to associate with someone who had such claims against him?
Yes, that's a good question. I can only think that they didn't investigate him sufficiently, because I think if they had, they would have come across that. And remember, he became Sir Jimmy Savile, didn't he? So he was knighted. So he was in and out, and he was in Buckingham Palace. He was a friend of Prince Charles's, wasn't he? I mean, he actually was a friend, quote unquote. Like that. They actually did things together. When was seen in public, kind of together. So I think he was above reproach. Come on, Shaun, if you get up there, really up there, you're above reproach, mate. You know, you kind of, you know, nobody's question. I mean, nobody would look at David Beckham and think, oh, we better check him out, whether he was done for shoplifting when he was 12 or something. You know, you get kind of, you get above all that. And I think that's what happened. And the English upper classes are daft enough to be taken in by that sort of kind of scale of, you know, getting up so high that nobody's going to question you. I think they were taken in by that.
You think he was an illusionist?
Yes.